What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got a bunch of Nintendo Switch 2 and RPG news to go over, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we're starting off with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and the Famitsu Most Anticipated list. Now, I don't usually cover the Famitsu Most Wanted list, more like it, but I wanted to discuss it because the Pragmata developers were actually excited to see that people were so excited to be able to get their hands on a game. You got to remember, Pragmata is a brand new IP from Capcom, releasing on multiple platforms between PC, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and the newly announced Nintendo Switch 2 version that is launching day and date on April 24th. So this is a big deal for Capcom overall. So I wanted to cover this because Pragmata has been on this list for so long because it went silent for a while, but it's back and it's getting ready for a launch. So Pragmata is number one, which is awesome to see. A new IP gets people excited to try something different. Capcom is coming on strong in 2026 with multiple big games that are littered throughout this top 30 list, in addition to Resident Evil Requiem, for example. That's another big Capcom game coming. But I wanted to discuss another game that kind of wiggled its way into the top 10 list here, and that's Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. This is a game that I'm super excited about, and if you've never played a Fire Emblem game before, this might be a great place to start based on the contents of this game. Now, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, it seems to be either a prequel or sequel to Fire Emblem Three Houses, but it's going to have a whole new cast of characters with some returning faces. But there are themes and powers and maybe some abilities and things from Three Houses, so lineage line, but Sodis is also in the game as well, and she was in Fire Emblem Three Houses. She played a huge part in that game, so I do think that newcomers will be able to pick up and play the game just fine. But like maybe some Final Fantasy games out there, if you've played the previous ones, you're going to have a bit better understanding of the world and stuff that is happening overall, but it's not necessarily a 100% requirement, but we have to kind of wait and see on that one. But 2026 is shaping up to be massive. There is a lot of games on this list I'm excited about, and I've also started working on a top 30 big most anticipated Nintendo Switch 2 games list for you guys, so that should be out this week as well. There's a lot of stuff to get excited about, but I think that Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is one of the games that, to me at least, Intelligent Systems struggled a little bit on the technical aspect of the Nintendo Switch 1. Their games were okay for the most part. They did WarioWare, they did Paper Mario, they've done a number of things, but I think finally they have a system that can kind of give them the overhead that they need for the type of engines and systems that they work on to actually do something pretty incredible. I don't think that the graphics that we saw in Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is the final. They're going to look better, it's going to run better, and I think that this is going to give them the ability to truly create that masterpiece from not only a gameplay standpoint, but from also a technical standpoint that I know they can do, because Fire Emblem Three Houses did fall short in some areas here and there when it comes to the performance, and the resolution was okay, but things just looked a little, I would say, not great. But with the Switch 2, they can take that engine, they can take what they've done and essentially just make it significantly better overall, because the CPU and the chip that they're using is so much better overall. But I think we saw that a bit with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, but I think it's going to get even better when we see that game again. I'm hoping that we get a preview of it at the upcoming probable February to March Nintendo Direct. For those who don't know, Nintendo usually has directs in the early part of the year, and that early direct is usually February or March, with more months as of recent being February. So I do think that it is possible that we see Fire Emblem's Fortune's Weave again, and it might be a summer release. Fire Emblem games usually launch in the first half of the year. They usually don't go into the second half, and that dates all the way back to the 3DS and maybe even before that. The latest they're coming out summer, end of summer-ish. So I would expect Fire Emblem's Fortune's Weave to be a summer type of title, and that's why it was revealed at the end of 2025 with that last direct that we got in September. I think that they're going to have it ready to go in the first half. So I would probably say May or June-ish, maybe latest July or so, but I'm guessing it's going to be in the middle summer of 2026. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to have an incredible story. I think it's going to have some fantastic plot points and different things that you can do. And gameplay wise, it looks like they're taking things up to the next level beyond what we saw with Fire Emblem Three Houses based on some of the combat breakdowns and analysis that I've seen. What do you guys think about Pragmata, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, and the other big games like Resident Evil Requiem and Dragon Quest VII Reimagined that are on this list? What are you most anticipating or most wanting or most hyping when it comes to 2026 titles? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we get to the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here, and we're going to be discussing Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch 2. It seems like Nintendo's going to be releasing a Nintendo Switch 2 version of this game or something when it comes down to it, because there has been a brand new re-rating for Peggy with Pikmin 3 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, the original Pikmin 3 came out several years ago, more than a decade ago at this point, on the Wii U, and then Nintendo re-released the game as the deluxe version on the Nintendo Switch, and that added a brand new prologue and epilogue with fan favorite Captain Olimar and Louie, new difficulty mode, support for co-op play and story mode, and the return of the Piklopedia from Pikmin 2. Plus, all the DLC was packed right in. And now, it's not sure what this is going to be or what this listing is going to do, but it does seem like it's coming back in some type of way. Now, Pikmin 4 has already got a few different new things and updates since it was already launched on the Nintendo Switch 1, which kind of caught people off guard. So some people are thinking that, yeah, they're going to bring over Pikmin 3 to the Nintendo Switch 2 to probably get ready and gear up for Pikmin 5 at some point in the next number of years on the Nintendo Switch 2. So here is the rundown from the listing, which I'm not going to go over everything, but I'll just go over just a bit of it. Command a capable crop of different types of Pikmin to strategically overcome obstacles, defeat creatures, and find food for your famished home planet. You can even bring a second player along to divvy up tasks as you explore a world that seems larger than life from a pint-sized perspective. So they talk about other stuff, returning to your ship before time runs out. The deluxe version includes new side stories. They have the brave explorers on planet PNF 404. So all the stuff that we've known for a while, obviously, if you've played Pikmin 3 or researched it a bit. So we'll see what happens here. Nintendo's probably going to do a lot of Switch 2 editions and bringing over other games. It gives people a chance that maybe if they didn't play them to get it on the Nintendo Switch 2. But my issue with this is the pricing when it comes down to it and how they do it. Now, if it's a $5 upgrade or if it's a free upgrade, that's definitely better. Now, if it's a Switch 2 version, it's a re-release, so obviously they're going to charge something, but I'm hoping it's not the $20 editions where they put a little bit of DLC, then they tack on 10 for the upgrade and then another 10 for the DLC. I'm hoping it's more like an Animal Crossing thing, to where it's like, okay, if you're going to charge full price because you know that they're going to, which I wish it wasn't, but you know that they're going to, whatever on that one, but make it like $5 like Animal Crossing. They have the 3.0 update. You want that one with the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, it's just $64.99. So I hope they do that instead. And I think that will be a bit better. There will be easier for people to pick it up if they don't already have it. But of course, if you already have Pikmin 3, a free upgrade or something like that would be great, which they've done a number of free upgrades. It's not like they haven't done that. We saw it with Pokemon. We saw it with Super Mario Odyssey. We saw it with Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. There's some good updates. Splatoon 3 got an update as well. So that's awesome. But I'd like to see them kind of do it a little bit better when it comes to how they handle Switch 2 editions. Good start or okay-ish, but I'm hoping it doesn't do like the whole $20 thing when it comes to some of them. So we'll see what they do here. But either way, looks like Pikmin 3 Deluxe is happening on the Nintendo Switch 2. So what do you guys think about this potentially going on? Are you planning on picking this one up if it is a thing? Waiting on seeing exactly how it works out? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, we're going to get into the next topic here, and that is going to be the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop charts, because I stated there's going to be one game that I felt that was going to have a bigger than expected launch, not only launch but evergreen, and that was Donkey Kong Bonanza, one of the best single player games in my opinion Nintendo has ever made, and one of my favorite Donkey Kong games. I think it rivals up there with the original Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. Like, I love those games, and this game to me blows away Donkey Kong 64. I know some people like that game more, not me. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think that's the game that is the big system seller, along with Mario Kart and some of the other titles that have came out. Metroid Prime 4 taking a little bit of a backseat now. It was up at the top for a number of weeks, but now we have some other games, some of the evergreens kind of passing it up. Donkey Kong Bonanza at the top of that list, followed by Pokemon Legends ZA Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, which is just having a monster holiday overall between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 versions. I would not be surprised if that game has sold 10 million units plus by the next time that we get our Nintendo Switch 2 game updates and system update sales numbers in February of 2026. For the third quarter, for October, November, December, I think Pokemon Legends ZA had a huge holiday overall. Mario Kart World in at number 3. Kirby Air Riders continuing to do some great work, and it's not selling necessarily incredible based on my tracking in Europe or in the US. I think it's doing okay there based on eShop charts and some of the stuff that I've seen on Amazon. But in Japan, Kirby Air Riders is doing incredible. Now, this eShop chart is just for the US. It's not worldwide or anything, but Kirby Air Riders I think is going to be a million seller because it's going on 400,000 plus physical copies in Japan by itself, not including the eShop charts where it is one of the top selling games on there. So I do think that Kirby Air Riders is doing pretty good overall as a game compared to where it was before 20 something years ago on the Nintendo GameCube. So much better there. And then of course Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, like I talked about, Switch 2 Edition, that is in at number 5. We have the full top 30 as well, as you guys can see too. A lot of great games from first and third party developers out there. We've got some sales going on, so make sure that you check the eShop if you're looking to get some cheap games or discounts on some of the titles that came out this year from a third party perspective. A lot of those are on sale, so check those out. I also have my top 15 best games of 2025. So if you just picked up a Nintendo Switch 2 for Christmas or recently and you want to see what the best games are, check out my video. I'll have that linked for you guys at the end of this video, in addition to the link in the description. So what do you guys think about Donkey Kong Bonanza barreling its way back up to the top of the charts here? Let me know in the comment section below. But now we're gonna move on to the final topic here and some unfortunate news when it comes to the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube. This was one of the big things that people really like about the Nintendo Switch 2, that it has the power to run emulation of GameCube games at good frame rates and good quality. Unfortunately, Nintendo quite hasn't figured out some of that pesky input lag that's been plaguing the system since it launched when it comes to the NSO GameCube. So let's talk about this just a bit more. Mr. Joestar Piccolo has shared the latest findings on YouTube. Ultimately, the stick range is still not matching up to the physical range on the control stick, with the input lag being a bit higher. Now, people thought that maybe this was worked out with the last update that we got, but it was not at all. Nothing's changed so far. Now, just to ensure that there wasn't any wireless interference, a wired GameCube controller was used for this test, so you wouldn't get a false reading. They tested it out for F-Zero GX, a game in which precise controls are needed to really kind of race and do what you need to do in that game, considering the blistering difficulty. He compared to how many frames pass between the first frame. The input shows that the display and the first frame, the menu cursor moves, whereas it's only 3 frames on the original hardware. With a scaler, it takes 8 frames between the input showing in the display and the cursor moving from GameCube titles on Nintendo Switch Online. So it's still unfortunate. Back to square one at this point, and I'm hoping that Nintendo does address this with GameCube Online. Now, the games that I'm gonna play on GameCube, I'll admit I don't necessarily need the precise input delay, and I don't feel it as much. I've played Wind Waker a little bit, and I'm going to be playing Fire Emblem once that comes out, Path of Radiance. So I haven't played too much of stuff on there, and obviously F-Zero, if you're into that and playing online with your friends, you're going to need that. And maybe some people can't even feel the input delay, but I guess if you're a hardcore GameCube person, you can definitely feel it a bit, especially for games like F-Zero. We'll see what happens going forward in the future. Hopefully Nintendo can get that worked out. But what do you guys think when it comes to everything we talked about here, from Pragmata, Fire Emblem, Fortune's Weave, more of those games, Pikmin 3, eShop listings, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and more? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.